Today we're going to be talking about different types of piano tuning mutes and demonstrating how they work and the purpose for the different ones. Pretty much the purpose for all mutes is to be able to mute off two or one or two strings of a note in order to be able to just listen to either one or two strings at a time, where you've got three strings on a note. So it's a kind of an essential tool in piano tuning. One of the more common types of mutes are these rubber mutes, which come in a number of different sizes. This is one of the more common sizes. This one's a little bit of a smaller one, as well as we have a wider one that's 3/4 inch wide. This one's even longer and thin, and then we also have the longest, I think that's a 6 inch long mute. And then something else that is helpful with mutes are wire handle. Okay, and when these come, you just have to insert them into the end. I just take it, there's not a specific spot, but if you can center it into the end of the mute and then firmly push, trying to keep it straight and centered, and you just push as you turn, and after several turns it's in there nice and firm. Okay, and then you've got a nice handle for the mute, which makes it a little bit easier to maneuver. Now the way these work, if you haven't used them before, is they go generally between the outside strings. So they're helpful. I generally will use the smaller one, but different sizes are helpful to have too. So that's one of the more common things. These are especially helpful in this section where the temperament strip, which I'll show you in a moment how that works, doesn't work real good in this section because there's not a lot of room between the hammer and the damper there. So this thinner mute fits well so that you can mute off a section there and still have room. So we usually put one down at the bottom, one at the top, and I'll have the center string be able to sound while the outside strings are muted. If I take that one out after I've tuned the center string, I can take that out and tune the left string to the center string, and then take out the other mute and tune that string to the other two. So that's the rubber mutes. The next, and probably one of the most common, is a felt temperament strip. These come tapered. One end is not quite as wide as the other end, but what I usually do is take this and push it between the strings, and that'll go in between all of the outside strings. And what you want to do is when you're pushing this down, especially in the bass section where you've got the wedge dampers, is hold your damper pedal down while you're pushing the mutes in, so it doesn't squeeze the dampers at all. So here you can see that it'll mute off a whole section of notes at once, so you can tune the one string per note for a whole section. So this is what I'll usually do, is start just tuning this whole middle section first by putting my temperament strip in. Once I've got one string of each note tuned, then I can go back and tune the unisons. Okay, so say I've gone through and tuned one string for each note, then I can start down at this end, and as you can see, I've tuned the left string because that's open, and I want to tune the right string to the left string to match that, and so I'll pull my mute out and tune the right string to the left string. This one we've already tuned the right string, so then we'll tune the left string to the right string. This one, when I get to the next note here, and then I've tuned the left string, I'll pull the mute out and tune the right string. Here I've tuned the center string on this three string note, and so then I'll tune the left string to the middle, pull that out to tune the right string, and so forth. So it's a helpful, time-saving way to mute a whole section of notes at once. A couple of the other mutes that are handy to have is we've got these felt mutes, which are nice in the bass section. You can put them between the strings, and they hold and dampen quite nicely. So you can put those in there. We've got a wider one that's not quite as long. Another one here that's not as wide, but it's longer. Another type of mute that we have here is a treble stick mute. It's made of wood, and then it's got buckskin lined. One end has just got, it's one wedge. Okay, and you can see that that will go here between the outside strings. Okay, and if you've got, this one's got a wedge in the middle, so then you can tune per mute two strings in one note. So you put it here, and then just the left string is sounding. So that's helpful in the treble section. Or you can do it that way, and then once you've tuned one string, then you can go and do the like that. So that's another helpful mute. This one here is it's called a gang mute. It's got 13 wedges, and what that's intended to do is to go between several, and it'll mute off a whole section of notes at once. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but it'll go between a whole section and tune off or mute off the outside strings of a whole section of notes. So we can put it in there. And if you get it positioned right. Doesn't always, it's more helpful in the treble section than anything, but it's a little bit difficult to see in there. So that's what that mute is for. The last type of mute we've got here is this one's called a Papp's treble mute. This is a real popular one. It's a kind of a tweezer style. It's got a spring in one end here, and what this is used to do, you can put it between the outside strings. Okay, or you can put it between in between the second and third string, or between any of the strings. So it's a helpful mute to have. Comes in a little case here to keep it in place. So that's our demonstration of mutes today, and it shows you a little bit about how each of them works and the functionality of each of them.